Hey everyone, it's Dr. Scott. It is Thursday, February the 19th. I'm going to talk a little bit about week 7, talk a little bit about generalizability, but let me start with week 6, the week that we're in right now. Just last night, so Wednesday the 18th, we had a good conversation about that replication study that I shared. It's about learning for transfer. And there were 4 folks that joined me in a conversation about that piece. We talked a little bit about it, applied a little bit of Blakesley and Fleischer to it, talked about where we saw the textbook in that study. And I appreciate folks for having that conversation with me. I recorded that. It's in the week 6 folder if you want to take a look at it. If you didn't get a chance to join the conversation, you can add some comments on perusal, and I'll take a look at those early next week. But I want to talk about week 7, what's going on with week 7. So week 7, you're turning in the midterm project, and the week after that is Shawnee State's midterm. It's our spring break. It's also the Conference on College Composition and Communication. That's the big conference in our discipline. It's being held up in Cleveland this year. There's a couple of graduate students, former graduate students, Ashley Slutz and Amanda Perry. I've been working on a research project with them, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But I'll be presenting at that. I'll be working on that presentation. So if you need a little bit more time to turn in your midterm project, that's not a problem at all. It's actually probably a good thing because I will not be able to get to everybody's midterm before I leave for Cleveland. So if you need a little bit more time, just email me and let me know. Also in week 7, I'm hosting a totally optional class meeting. If you can attend, great. If not, totally understand. Amanda, Ashley, and I, we wanted to give kind of like a work in progress presentation. It'll be a little bit drafty. We're still we've been going through the data to kind of collect our thoughts. But we will share kind of like where we are at this point with our presentation. And you can kind of learn about research in our discipline from a project that's underway at this point. We collected survey data at the end of last semester. We had some hiccups along the way, and we'll talk about that as well. I think that's important to learn about, like where things kind of go off the rails a little bit. So yeah, if you want to learn a little bit about, a research project that's in the works, Wednesday, week 7, that's going to be Wednesday, February 25th, 6:00 p.m. And the link to that meeting is in the week 7 folder. All right. That's the week 6 and week 7 stuff that I wanted to share with you. I did want to talk a little bit about generalizability. That's going to come up a fair bit in the second half of the class, so I wanted to talk about it here, and we will come back and talk about it later in the term as well. So a lot of the research that we do in our discipline is qualitative. Qualitative research means that you're not always going to represent everyone's perspective. And so instead of breadth of perspective, you get depth of perspective. You get a deeper understanding of a phenomenon or of an individual or individuals' perceptions of that phenomenon. So with qualitative research, if we talk about a project that just includes a few participants, that's not necessarily a red flag. That can be completely fine, especially if you've sampled them thoughtfully and carefully and you're asking them good questions that are informed by your lit review and that are aligned with your project's research questions. So fewer participants, like we can also learn from projects that have fewer participants. Generalizability in the statistical sense has to do with surveys and survey statistics. And there might be folks in this class that know that stuff better than I do. I dabble a little bit. There are formulas out there that you can use to determine how many participants you need for a 95% confidence level based on the overall population size. For example, if you're studying all students at a particular school, if you want to say something representative or generalizable about all students at a particular school, you can calculate how many students you need to interview or survey in order to represent that entire population with a 95% confidence level. You can do that. There are ways to calculate that. That's statistical. It's more typical of survey research, particularly where you're working with larger populations. In our discipline, though, qualitative research can produce really strong studies with much smaller numbers. Doesn't always mean that it's generalizable. It often means that you have to kind of think critically about what applies from that study, from their context to your context. But you can have excellent studies that focus on just one person navigating a particular phenomenon. A student's first dual enrollment class, like what was that experience like, and what things can you learn about that experience that might be able to apply to other folks, that struggles that student has, so on and so forth. I just want to mention that because I don't want anyone to feel like they have to try to describe a project for the final project in our class. Like, you don't have to try and describe a project that would involve interviewing hundreds of people, surveying all students in the state of Ohio. Good luck with that. Those kind of studies are just not really possible or feasible in many cases. Smaller projects are fine. They're excellent sometimes. If they can provide us a depth of understanding about somebody's experience with a particular phenomenon that you're interested in, that's still good research. And it's still something we can learn from. I mean, we might have to think a little bit creatively about how things apply and take the things that do apply and leave the things that don't, but it can still be really good research. That's all I wanted to share this week. And I hope you all are doing well. The weather has finally started to turn warm out here in southern Ohio and in northeastern Kentucky. I know some of y'all had 80-degree weather a couple weeks ago while we were under about a foot of snow. But spring's here. We're going to spring break soon. Looking forward to taking a look at your midterm projects and working with you all in the second half of the semester as we learn about the tools that we use to answer research questions. All right, that's it for now.